Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton. For the final episode of this year, we got a good lineup there. Episode 148 out of UFC 296. First up, we're going to be joined by both Ian Machado Garry and Vicente Luque to preview their fights against each other. Really good chat with Ian, just about kind of everything that's been going on. We did this about just before everything kind of came out about his wife, but really good chats about Edwards and Patty saying he got knocked out and kind of everything about just fighting a guy that he's known for a while and what's that kind of like. And then you could chat Vicente to preview his fight against Ian, who he obviously knows a lot about Ian. He says he respects Ian, but he thinks this is a very good fight for him to show off and really derail his hype and start reminding everyone that he's a legit title contender at welterweight. We're then going to be joined by Dustin Jacoby to preview his fight against Alonzo Menefield. This is a really fun fight. Dustin coming off that nice knockout win over Kennedy and Jeku to get back in the win column after two losses to as members can't have a Khalil Roundtree. That Roundtree fight's one that Dustin still believes he won, but Alonzo's been looking good as of late. Submitted Jimmy Crew before that had the draw, but then he's 3-0-1 his last four. So Dustin knows a big one over Alonzo can get him a guy in that top 10. And then we close things out talking to Brian Kelleher to preview his fight against Cody Garbrandt. Brian back after having that surgery. He said he was confident he was going to fight again, but wasn't sure if he was going to be in the UFC, so he was honored that he did get another fight. He's on that 2-fight losing streak, hasn't fought since June of 2022, but is confident he has the power that he can knock out Cody and really bring out that brawl in Cody that everyone's used to. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and I hope everyone has a good holidays and a happy new year. I'll try and get some of the solo interviews out on the YouTube channel throughout that time off, but thanks to everyone for watching again this year. All right, we're joined by UFC welterweight Ian Machado Garry, who's got a big fight at the end of the year. Ian, how's it going, man?
I'm awesome, man. I'm awesome. I'm in Brazil. I'm loving life. I have no complaints.
That's the first thing I want to touch on is I know you're in Brazil. Like, did you do your full camp down here then with obviously you fighting Luque and him being at out in Florida?
Yeah, I'm going to be training here. With Killcliff, I loved him, but Vincente's been there for like 10 years. So I went, you know what? I'll leave. I'll give you the respect. And I'm training in Shoot the Box now, and I love every second of it. It's awesome. It's exciting. Man, I'm just in love with Brazil.
Was that hard for you to take this fight just because you and Luque have shared the gym together?
No, not remotely. At the end of the day, he's a friend of mine, but if beating him puts me one step closer to being the best in the world, then I'm game, and I know he's the same way. So my goal is to be one of the greatest to ever live, and that doesn't matter who stood across the octagon from me. I have to go out there and do what I need to do, which is show the world how good I am. And unfortunately, it's Vicente next, and it doesn't bother me.
Do you think you're going to be like in Brazil at Shudo then for like the next little while then for the foreseeable future? Do you see a path where you return?
As of right now, I think committing to Brazil and the energy around Brazil and the ability to train at Shoot the Box, the ability to be able to go and train jiu-jitsu with Damian Maia, the culture of Brazil, even the health of like the food. The food here is so good that you're health-wise, I feel like I eat better here. And I travel the world with a full-time nutritionist. So that's awesome. So to be able to have meals and buy meals out and feel like I'm healthier is absolutely evolving. So as of right now, yes, I don't see any reason why I would want to leave Brazil.
I know when we spoke after the Neil fight, you're pretty adamant you wanted Wonder Boy and you thought you were going to get him. Were you a bit disappointed not to get him, then for him to still be on this card as well?
He said no. He said no to me and yes to Shavkat. So I get it. But the truth is I'm a much tougher matchup for him than Shavkat is on the basis of stylistic fights. I'm a striker. I'm a pure blood striker. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to beat Wonder Boy on the feet. Now, if you're one of the best strikers to ever live and to ever do the sport, do you want to lose to another striker? No. So the fact that Shavkat has a high wrestling pedigree and can go out there and beat him in that regards, it's a safer fight for Wonder Boy to take because if he loses, I got out grappled. But if I go out there and I knock him out, it's like, well, I did it in your own ballpark. So I get it. Look, I would still love that fight to materialize. When I go out there and win, if he goes out there and wins or loses, I still think either way, when I get my hand raised, the Wonder Boy fight could still be a possibility, and I would love to do it in Dublin.
And then when we talked too, you knew you were going to get one more in. I know the UFC was pushing for Madison Square Garden. When we talked, you said you didn't really want to do that because of taxes. So how kind of happy are you that you ended up on the Vegas pay-per-view that you wanted?
I told you I get what I want. I always get what I want. I wanted Vegas. I love Vegas. New York is far too cold. So to be able to be fighting in Vegas again, I love the T-Mobile. I love the ability of going down the strip and being in Vegas and playing golf in Vegas and going to the UFC PI. Vegas as a whole, I love. So to be able to go there again and do what I love, it's just a blessing.
And on a massive card down the year too, like obviously the welterweight title fight in the main event, like how interesting is it where there's the main card has 3 pretty big welterweight fights where like you probably could be fighting someone on this card next.
Look, the truth is I'm going to go out there and do what I do every single fight and try to leave my name in everybody's mouth after the fight. I want to have the biggest performance. I want to be the person everybody's talking about. So I have to go out there and do something pretty spectacular to make sure that happens. But Cole, if there's anybody can do that, it's me.
In that main event, like who do you kind of see winning that one? Because to me, like I think it's a lot closer than what people think. Like I lean Leon, but like I wouldn't be surprised if Colby got it done.
Well, why? Why do you lean Leon?
I just think what he did to Usman, how he can keep it standing and then on the feet. I think he's a better striker than Colby, but like I don't know. I think Colby's pace. If Colby wins, I think it's a lot could be his pace and just like not letting Leon get off his back foot.
I think you're pretty much spot on with a couple of things. I would throw in another couple of areas. Leon is a better chain wrestler, Colby is a better chain wrestler than Kamaru. Kamaru's, I'm going to shoot. If I get you down, great. If I don't, I'm going to back out and I'm going to punch. So Leon has to deal with the trouble of Colby's chain wrestling and the ability for him to go 1 to 2 to 3 to 1 to 2 again. And just, he's like glue. He wants to stick to you because he doesn't have the greatest striking. He knows that. He's aware of that. But he's got amazing cardio and he will put it on you. So I think it's really going to be dictated on how well Leon can deal with the mental warfare of Colby, because Colby's fucking annoying and he does it for a reason. And then you go in there and you have someone who's just constantly putting pressure on you, constantly in your face, constantly moving forward. I would expect Leon to find a way to win. I think he's a better striker, and I think he should be able to. I've grappled with him, and he's a phenomenal wrestler. He's a phenomenal grappler. He's very clean, very tidy. So for him to be able to go out there and consistently keep that tidiness, I think he should be able to go out there and quite convincingly get the win. But let's see. It's a fight at the end of the day. And if Colby can get in his head and chat some shit to him, annoy him, irritate him, and then take him down once in that first round and get that downward spiral of the confidence, then maybe it's a different scenario than what me and you expect.
Just last thing on the event, then we'll get into your fight, is what do you think that press conference is going to be like with all you out there? Patty's obviously out there with what he just said recently. Like, are you looking forward to that, or like, what do you kind of think that's going to be like?
Look, I don't fucking know what to expect at that press conference. You've got Tony Ferguson who's fucking nuts. You've got Paddy who's controversial as hell, but is funny and gets a hell of a lot of attention. You've got Colby Covington standing up on that stage who just, everywhere he goes, that guy does something that is just different. You've then got the world champion in Leon, and you've got so many other guys. I'm just going to go up there, do what I do, talk my shit, be myself, and then Saturday night I get to go in and show up.
With Luque, like how often did you train with him? If at all, like was there ever like those sparring one-on-ones, or like was he just kind of in the gym together with you?
No, we did a lot of work together. We did a lot of technique together. We did a lot of sparring together. He's someone who I didn't spar with him as much as other people in the gym, but I definitely got a lot of rounds in with him. I know how good Luque is because I'm a fan of the UFC and I've watched him fight many, many, many times. Luque knows how good I am because he's watched me fight. But the truth is, we both have little bits of insight in each other because we've trained with each other. But at the end of the day, when you look at every single fight I've ever had, I do the basic, simple stuff in the most elite possible way. So there is no way that what I do and the way my style is, I can't have success. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to jab you in the face. I'm going to kick you in the leg. I'm going to kick you in the head. I'm going to make you move. You just have to try to deal with it. So I feel like Luque, for all the time that I've spent with him and he spent with me, it really means nothing because it's a fight. And the truth is, what happens in the octagon and what happens in the gym are very, very different. Me and Luque didn't go out there and try and knock each other out in spars. Now we're going to try to do that in a fight. So it's going to change everything. And look, you've got build-up, you've got anticipation, you've got media, you've got people mentioning my name to him all the time. How does he deal with that? This is the biggest fight he's had in a long time because I'm a massive prospect in the sport. I'm a contender. I'm undefeated. I'm extremely talented. He knows it. Everyone else in the gym knows it. So how is he dealing with that mentally? Let's find out.
Do you worry about like anything the coaches know on you at all? Or like, is that not a worry of like what they can tell Luque from practice? Or, like, do you just think since you've been in Brazil, like you can change a lot of things and that what they might have known might not be a thing anymore?
To anybody who thinks they know me, great, cool. I have spent 2 years with Henry Hoof, Jason Stroud, all the guys out there, Matt Gilbert, Vicente. I've trained there for 2 years. They themselves know what I'm good at. And every single Tuesday and every single Thursday, I went out there and I hit people with the same shit because I'm that good at what I do. So you can try and guess what I'm going to do. You can try and know what I'm going to do. At the end of the day, I'm going to do whatever I want to because I'm that good. So it doesn't make any difference to me. Whatever the coaches say, whatever the teammates say, I am elite in my own regard, and I will go out there and have whatever success I want in that octagon.
Do you think Vicente's going to try to grapple you?
100%. 100%. Listen, if anybody in that gym tells Vicente, you can go out there and win this fight in the feet, you can, 100%. They're all lying out their teeth. I am 100%. And they will all tell you this. I am one of the best strikers on the planet. So for sure, the best and smartest way for Vicente to try and beat me is to try and take me down. And that's the same with everybody I fight. If I am stood on the feet, I will find a way to win because I am unbelievably gifted and talented at striking. All his coaches know that. All his teammate knows that. Vicente himself knows that. Let's see if he can go out there and do it.
Is that something that excites you though? Is like people don't really know about you grappling. Like you're in Brazil grappling. Like imagine it's getting a lot better. You've never even shown it, so like it's not like people don't even really know what to expect. Like, is that exciting? Or that's kind of like in your back pocket when you need it, you can pull it out.
I have not needed to show my grappling. Couple of little glimpses in fights, but never a full commitment to anything in the fights. It's more been break away, separate, continue my striking because that's what I like to do. You need to battle the ego a little bit because there's bits of me that sit there and go, I'd love to go out there and catch someone with a submission, or I'd love to go out there and out-grapple with someone. But the truth is, to have success and to be the best in the world, it's to find the easiest way to win. And 99.9% of the time, because of how good I am on the feet, it is always going to be me beating people on the feet. But trust me, it's going to come. Whether it's with Vicente, or whether it's the fight after that, or whether it's the fight after that, someone has to try and take me to that area because otherwise, I'm just going to stand on the feet and keep picking you off time and time and time again until someone goes, I've had enough of getting punched in the nose. I'm going to try to grab a hold of you and take you down now. And let's see. But trust me, they don't know. And anyone who does know, and he knows that all the guys in the gym in Kilcliff know that I've got fucking good grappling. I'm fast, I'm wiry, I create scrambles, and trying to take me down and trying to hold me down, it's not an easy task.
Just two more things. I know you run out of time, but it's like, how do you kind of see this one playing out?
I genuinely believe that Vicente, from the get-go, has to grab a hold of me. He has to clinch, he has to grab a hold of a leg, he has to push me to the cage, he has to do something because he knows that every second on the feet is a possibility that I'm going to knock him out. And he knows that. I know he knows that. He's a smart man. Do you know what I mean? I've also trained him enough and the teammates around the gym. Gilbert Burns is one of his best friends. I love Gilbert Burns. I love and adore him and his family. There's no fucking way someone who's as good as friends with Vicente and as good as friends with me is going to sit there and go, Vicente, you can beat Ian on the feet. You can. Gilbert's going to go, don't even bother. Just grab a hold of him, take him down, and just completely try and shut that down. So I genuinely believe that Vicente's going to come out, play it cool on the feet for a minute, maybe forget the striking type of thing, and then boom, he's going to try grab a hold. And every second from that fight on, I believe he's going to try grab a hold of me and just try suffocate the striking.
You get the win here. Like, just last thing, like, what do you think that does here? I know when we talked to Neil, you said like you're not in a rush to get to the title. You want Dublin. So like, what's kind of that ideal year look like for you next year? Like, what do you think?
Well, there's some pretty big monumental stuff that I want to do. There's obviously UFC 300, and if they're going to put on a stacked card and put on some of the biggest stars in the sport to create interest and generate eyes on the sport, then you've got to have me on that card. That makes sense. But also, I want UFC Dublin. I want to bring the UFC back to Ireland. I think we deserve it. I deserve it. I've earned it. So let me bring the UFC back to Ireland, put on a show, beat a top contender there, and put myself in that title contention. And for me, I still have 4 more fights that I want to do, including the Luque fight before I fight for a title, because as I've said to you, I'm growing, I'm evolving so rapidly. I'm traveling the world, learning from the best I possibly can. And it's exciting. I go out there and I want to prove to the world how good I am. And I want to do it my way. And I believe 4 more fights, and then I'll get a world title shot. And when I win that world title, there's nobody taking it off me.
Do you think that's 2025 then, your title shot?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, Ian, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again, man.
Thank you so much, Cole. It's a pleasure. And hey, I'll speak to you maybe before or after this fight, but you'll know how good I am come December 17th.
Yeah. All right, we're jumping Vicente Luque, who's back in action on a UFC at 296 with a big fight. Vicente, how's it going, man?
I'm good.
Obviously, ending the year, like, were you always hoping to just get one more in? Like, was this the right kind of time for fighting in August? Like, only a 4-month turnaround, like fairly quick, especially with how long people are sitting. Like, were you happy then to get this one last one in this year?
Yeah, I was really excited, and I had a long time between my last 2 fights, so it was a whole year between fights. So I worked on a lot of stuff I needed to develop. I had great recovery. My body was feeling great, and I had a great win against RDA. So for me, it was really important to get one more fight in this year. I think the timing is perfect. It's a moment where I get to close off the year, having a big fight in a big show in a big card. So for me, it makes a lot of sense. I think it's always good to put at least 2 fights in a year. And I felt like for me, it just was the right fight because of the timing. I'm coming off a big win. I'm feeling fresh. I'm evolving on a lot of stuff, and I have plenty of time. It was a really good training camp. I still have a good time until the fight. So for me, yeah, definitely it was an exciting fight to accept.
And then were you a bit hesitant to accept it just with you and Ian having trained in the past and him used to obviously be at Killcliff?
I mean, I wasn't hesitant in the terms of the fight. I really like the fight. I think it's super exciting. I have a great relationship with Ian as well. I've trained with him before, but I know that both of us, we don't really take it personal. We're great competitors, and we're gonna go out there and do what we got to do. But there was a little bit of kind of a situation I had to talk to Henry and to make sure that he was comfortable with it because, being part of the team, being part of Killcliff, I don't want ever to bring some drama or any kind of things, that would be negative to the team. But Henry was pretty cool about it. He said, hey, if you guys want to fight, you guys go out there, do what you guys got to do. And he's going to stay out of it. He's just going to be kind of neutral. He's not going to corner either of us. Just stay on the neutral. And, I still have everybody in the team supporting me, all the guys who train. So it's something that I was really excited for. This fight is a big fight. I know the fans were going to love it. So that's why I wanted to get this fight, and the timing was perfect.
How often did you guys train? Like, was there like sparring, or like, can you take much from the training sessions, or do you not really look at those for this fight?
I think we trained quite a lot. We sparred a lot. I grappled with him quite a lot, and all of that probably was about, I would say, like a year ago, or more than a year ago. That was a lot. Like I met him in his first fight in the UFC, and then we got to train a little bit before my fights in 2022, and then 2023 we did train a little bit, but it wasn't as much. So yeah, we know kind of each other's style. He's a guy that I've always watched a lot because I like his fighting style. So it's somebody I know, and I obviously I train with him. But I think training is different. Training, you can maybe kind of have some reads, but a fight is a fight. I know that in there, that's when he's really throwing all he's got with full power, with really real intentions. So I try to kind of not really look too much at what we trained and whatever I did good or whatever he did good, because if I do that, I might end up, kind of tricking myself into something that it could be totally different in the fight.
I know he's down in Brazil and like not training there, but like, have any of the coaches said? I know in the past, like when teammates or ex guys at Kill Club fought, like Henry sat out of the corner. Like, is that gonna be the case here? You're gonna have the usual corner. Like, are any coaches deciding not to participate in this one?
No, no, no. I mean, for this fight, Henry's not going to corner. So yeah, that's something that I think it makes a lot of sense. It's just like when Kamaru and Gilbert fought, Henry sat out of that one. Is just a tough situation because Henry, is so involved in everyone's career that it's hard. How can he pick a side? So I definitely understand that. But other than that, I'm gonna have the guys that I need. I'm gonna have Saeed corner me, Dieter, which is a Cuban guy from boxing. A really really good coach, and I'm gonna have also Delano. Delano is a PFL fighter. He's a great 170 and has been helping me a lot for this fight. So I'm gonna have the guys that are working with me and that I need over there.
Uh, yeah, I know. Like, is Gilbert back in Florida training, or like, have you gotten able to
Yeah,
work with him
Gilbert.
now?
Yeah, Gilbert is back. He's been traveling a lot, for
Mhm.
the UFC shows and for all these things. And he's a busy man. He's been working. But now this week he's been back. So I did work a little bit with him, especially grappling and wrestling. We've been, grappling a little bit, and it's always great to have him, helping me and just, working with him. He's a beast. He has a lot of knowledge. So now he's back, kind of back into real training. Having a routine. So now I get to work with him as well.
With this one, like, how do you think you match up against Gary? Like, obviously, he's a very good striker. We haven't seen much of his grappling. And you're obviously a very good striker yourself. We've seen a lot of grappling. Like, how do you think you kind of match up against him?
So I think that I mean, Gary's a new fighter, yeah, we haven't seen much. We know that his striking is amazing. I've felt that here training with him. He's very skilled, very talented striker. But, I don't think that's only what he has. He's really dangerous everywhere. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating. Obviously, I'm getting ready for the striking match. I'm a striker myself, and I know that I have the tools and I have the weapons to put him in danger. So that's something I'm obviously working, but I'm making sure that my wrestling and my grappling are on point in case I need to use him or if he tries to use them against me as well, because he's a new fighter. There isn't so much to study about, I have in the UFC 20 fights, so he can go out there and watch my 20 fights. He has, I think, 5 fights or something like that. So I'm watching these fights, but it's kind of limited how much I could really anticipate. So I'm making sure that I'm ready for everything, ready for all the kind of different strategies he might try to use against me.
With this one too, like, what's it like to be a part of this card? Like, three big welterweight fights on the main card as well. Like, kind of like a little showcase, and then it's a pretty stacked card down the year for the UFC as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are the cards that I'm always excited to be part of. I haven't fought since 22. Like, so my last three fights they were all at the Apex. So I'm excited to fight, in front of the crowd again. That's gonna be fun. And I think it's the perfect timing because we have big welterweight fights. We have the championship, being decided that night. So it's always good to be moving with the top guys and making sure I can stay kind of in that same agenda because my plan is to keep moving up the division and eventually fighting for that title. So if I'm moving with the rest of the division, I think that's really positive.
How do you kind of see this one playing out with Ian? Like, I think a lot of people think this one could be really exciting. Like, could be a fight of the night if it goes a distance. Like, how do you kind of see it playing out?
Yeah, man, I think it's a lot of action. I think his style and my style they are styles that match up great. Being that I'm a striker that walks forward, that really tries to press my opponents. He's a guy that sometimes walks forward, but he's really good at fighting, moving backwards as well. Kind of reminds me a little bit of some things that Thompson used to do. And he's great, a great kicker, really exciting, really aggressive, high-paced fighter. So that's what I imagine, a high pace. We're gonna be fighting 3 rounds as well, so I think that's definitely gonna kind of set a high pace for this fight. And yeah, I can imagine. I mean, if we go the 3 rounds, that's probably gonna be fight of the night, because both of us are not gonna back down. We're gonna try to take each other out of there.
With Ian too, like he's an undefeated guy, but with that, like he's never really faced a whole lot of adversity. Like he's never been losing a fight or like been rocked. So like, what do you think that will be like for him if you can be that guy to like start winning a fight or hurt him? Like, what do you think he'll do in that fight? Because we haven't seen it. And, like, you don't really know how he'll react to that.
Yeah, I mean, in a fight like this, he's a really talented, undefeated guy. There's a lot of, let's say, mystique around him. This guy can do this and that, and I think that definitely boosts his confidence. And what I take from that is I got to be the smarter fighter, the more experienced fighter. I have more time in the UFC. I have more fights. I've been in many different kind of situations, and that's what I have to bring to this fight. Try to bring him into tricky spots. Make it dirty, make it nasty for him, and that's where we're really gonna see what kind of fighter he is. And that's where I believe that I can maybe bring challenges, and put him in a bad spot. Just going out there and trying to, let's say, be the young guy that wants to go out there and put on a show. I'm not that one. That's him. He is the young guy that is running, on the hype and undefeated. So he's the one that's going in there to put on a show. I'm going in there to dominate and kind of to be the veteran, to show what UFC fighters at this level do.
Do you think most of the pressure is on Ian then in this fight, where like he's this undefeated guy, he's getting that top 10 spot, but like I feel like to a lot of fans, like they kind of think he's that next guy where they're just kind of viewing you as kind of that stepping stone for him.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that for a long time in my career, I was that young guy that or favorite. I mean, I think every single fight of mine in the UFC, I was favorite. The only one I wasn't was against RDA. So all the other fights, I was the favorite guy, and that kind of brings definitely brings a pressure. It kind of brings that pressure of just kind of delivering what everybody expects. And he's the undefeated guy that is up and coming. That guy that is gonna go and make maybe a run like McGregor did. So yeah, definitely that is pressure, and that's where we're gonna see how he deals with it. I've had pressure on my back, and many times that's great. That brings the best out of me. So it might bring the best out of him. That's why I never try to really hold to that. I'm ready to go out there and beat the best Ian Garry. I'm ready to go out there and really take that win against the best fighter that there can be. So the pressure and all that aside, I'm really not looking to that. I'm looking to fight a tough guy that night.
What do you think a win over Ian does for you? Like, obviously he's ranked below you, but I think this is like a pretty big win for your career, especially being handed him his first loss.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons. I thought this fight made so much sense. He's coming off, great wins, a great, undefeated streak, and he's a guy that has a lot of talent, a lot of skills, and his fights are always exciting. And that's what really that's what excites MMA fans. That's what excites the UFC. So these are the guys many times that I think now makes more sense for me to fight. Uh, Not only chase the ranking numbers, but sometimes a guy like this, he's one number or two numbers behind me, but still he can make me, move up there, getting a win over a guy that has so much hype, so many people believe in him. Just a win like that shows everybody what I can do. So I think it's a fight that it could be, a big fight for me to move forward and get closer to that title.
Do you imagine you'll fight one of these welterweights like that wins or loses on this card? Like, I feel like that's kind of what's gonna happen with all you guys fighting on the same card. Like, maybe you guys all just kind of get matched up, or like, do you have someone in mind you want to fight, or like, does it not really matter to you?
I don't really have someone in mind now. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter. I think it will matter after. Right now I'm focused on Ian. I gotta get past him, and after that, I'm definitely gonna be looking for what's the fight that makes sense. But like I said, I think right now my mind is not necessarily looking for rankings, but looking for the fights that are going to move me closer to that title. And yeah, I mean, I think this card, all the fights in this card are very, very important fights. So since we're all going to be fighting the same night, maybe I'll fight one of those guys after that, in the next fight. But most than anything, I gotta get past Ian in a
Mm.
dominant performance because that's gonna move me to the place I want to be.
Just final thing, like what is kind of the goal then for you next year? Like I know you had to take a long time off after that Neil fight. Still able to get 2 fights in this year is obviously nice for you. So, like, but what is kind of that goal? Like, what's kind of the perfect year look like for you?
Perfect year is an active 24, and really, I believe like until the end of the year, I could get to that title
Mm.
challenge, and that's what I want to try to do.
Well, Vicente, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Thank you, appreciate it, man.
Addy.
All right, we're jumping UFC light heavyweight Dustin Jacoby, who's back in action on a massive UFC 296 card. Dustin, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good, Cole. Thanks for having me on the show, and I'm excited to be a part of the action December 16th.
Yeah, getting one more in this year, like to get 3 fights in. How happy were you that you were able to squeak this last one in this year?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just an opportunity I couldn't turn down. I was already going to be there. My teammate Brandon Royval's fighting for the flyweight world title, and when they asked if I want to be a part of the card, I said absolutely. It was hard to say no to that one.
What are kind of the emotions like in the gym right now? Like obviously Brand has that big title fight, but then like there's a lot of you coming up. Like Cody again is like a week or two before. Like Chris is like a week before now at a main event. Like a lot of you guys are having these big fights to end the year off.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's iron sharpens iron, and that's what we do at Factory X. And the excitement's at an all-time high, and guys are getting in there and grinding and just enjoying the journey, enjoying the process, and we got a great thing brewing over there at Factory X, and we just got to go capitalize. We have a huge month of December, one of the biggest months that I think we've ever had at the gym. So to go out there and get a main event win and a world title and another win inside the top 15 would be huge.
And Alonzo Metafield like ranked one spot ahead of you. So how excited were you to get another ranked guy in this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can get a guy that's ranked above you, that's what we're after, man. And that's why I couldn't say no. I like the matchup. I'm excited about the matchup and going against him. And yeah, man, it's an opportunity to get one step closer to the pinnacle of the sport and that champ Alex Pereira.
What have you made of Alonzo's run the UFC? Like he had that weird little bit where he like lost to Devin Clark and OSP and like William Knight, and kind of since then he's been looking pretty good. And like I thought he beat Crew both times. I didn't think the first one should have been a draw. So like, what are you kind of made of his run so far?
Yeah, I think he's a bull, man. He's a tough opponent. He's a tough out, and I think he's in the top 15 for a reason, and I'm excited at the opportunity to go in there and give him an L on his record. He's a guy that says he's a striker, and I'm really looking forward to getting in there and mixing it up with him.
Do you just kind of expect this one to be a striking fight, or do you think there'll be some grappling in this one? Because it's like way you two fight, like both you guys are kind of those prefer to keep it standing.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly anticipate him doing a little grappling. If it gets to there, I mean, I think he's going to try to. But again, he's listed as a striker. We'll see. We'll see how long until he's grappling, and then I'm prepared for it, man. I think I've put it in my mind that I'm just willing to suffer. I think I can suffer a little bit longer than he can, and I'm planning on being the last man standing that night.
What's the confidence level like for you going into this one compared to the last fight? Like last fight, 2 fight losing streak. Like you never really know if you lose 3 in a row in the UFC. To now, like coming off a big first round knockout, now getting a guy ranked heavy. Like, is there a big difference mentally for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a big difference mentally. I mean, I'm definitely confident going into this matchup. I was confident going into my last matchup, even off the losses. And I'd be lying if I said I don't feel, extremely good coming off the performance I just had. Of course, it's a confidence boost, but I'm always mentally prepared when I go into fight week and when I step inside the octagon. And as long as I'm prepared, I always plan on winning. And that's where I'm at right now, man. I'm preparing properly once again. I'm peaking at the right times in camp. I feel really good today. Training went really well today. I got another opportunity to go in there and spar tomorrow morning and fine tune some details. And then we're at the tail end of training camp. We got three good weeks left to push, and right there at fight week, man. So we're clicking on all cylinders right now, and I can't wait for the opportunity the 16th.
And then fighting in Vegas in front of fans on a big pay-per-view, like what's that like for you to be a part of this card?
Yeah, it's super awesome, man. What more could you ask for? Fighting with fans in the stands and one of the biggest pay-per-view cards of the year. And I'm going to be on the ESPN portion right in the middle of the card, the eighth fight of the night. It's free on ESPN, man. There's going to be a lot of eyes on it, and a huge opportunity to go out there and showcase my skills and prove that, man, I'm closer than ever to my ultimate dream in this sport. And Alex Pereira just winning the light heavyweight championship. I fought Alex Pereira in March of 2014, and how cool would that be to go get a big win here and get the opportunity to stand across the octagon against a guy 10 years later. I think that's super cool, and I just got my eyes on the prize, man. Like I said, I'm closer than ever.
Yeah, and this card's like pretty crazy. Like I think there's like 5-6 fights that could headline like fight night cards. I think every single like the 3 that aren't title fights on the main card can. Like you have like Cody Garbrandt on the prelims, like Josh Emmett Giga that's on the prelims, which is like could headline. Like you and Alonzo could headline. Like it's kind of crazy how stacked this card is. Like to me, I think this is probably the best card. Maybe one or probably top 2 of this year for sure.
Oh, well, no doubt, man. The UFC, they always come with 3 bangers, that card early in March and the end of the year card. You got the International Fight Week. Heck, that card last week in New York at Madison Square Garden. But yeah, this is definitely one of the top ones, and it's an honor to be asked to be a part of it. And I can't wait.
Is it just the same kind of people as always for this one? Like Cody, I know when I talked to Cody last week, he said Anthony's been kind of in and out of the gym, so he hasn't been fully there all the time. But is it kind of the same guys you've been working with always?
Yeah, it's the same guys, man. Same guys grinding, 24/7. And Cody's a great look for me this fight. The guy's super strong in the gym, man. Cody is a tough out for anybody. If he could just get together inside the octagon, and I think he will. The time is running out. It needs to happen now, and I think he will, man. But the thing about him is he's so freaking strong and so good, and going with him it's just a pain every single day. He's extremely strong. He gets stuck in the ground in position, so he's a great look for me. And we've been going back and forth, I feel very prepared for this fight against Alonzo.
How do you kind of see this one playing out then?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a battle. I think, I think there's no doubt, he's very explosive. I think there's no doubt that he may try to take me down. And when I say that, maybe perhaps a football tackle, get me down and then we get going from there, or we stand up. I think I'm a better striker. I think I'm longer. I think I'm physically longer. He's physically bigger. It's just going to be the old bull versus matador matchup. And we'll have to see what the matador has up his sleeve.
You get a win here, like say it is. Most of your wins are coming by finish as of late. So, like, what do you think a win here does to you in this division?
Yeah, I think it really boosts me, man. If I go out there and have an exciting performance and really showcase and really, make a statement, dude. Like I said, there's a story there with Pereira. We fought each other 10 years ago. He's climbed back into MMA, become a dual champ. I just see the stars are aligning perfect, man. I go in there. I just got to take care of business the 16th, and we'll go from there.
Do you think because of that history, like you could get pushed up quicker than most to get that title shot and have that rematch?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think if there's a story there and it sells, of course, and timing is everything, it's a pretty good story. It's a pretty good timeline. I just got to go in there and take care of business on my side. It definitely helps. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, because I know they obviously have Walker ranked alive, and then Blachowicz racked coming up. Like I think one of those will probably get that next one, but like you could beat Alonzo. Like you'd be like get a top 10, top 5 guy off of this if they really want to push you.
Yeah, man. I mean, the thing about timing is everything. Look at Aspinall, number 10 heavyweight in the world, just became the baddest man on the planet, man, from number 10. So it's just all about timing and who matches up where and when and how yeah, there was a lot of guys on the sidelines in the light heavyweight division there for a minute. They're all going to be coming back, and they're all going to be hungry for that top spot. So there's no easy out in that top 10, but at the same time, we do have a story, and that would be cool.
Were you surprised to see Alex win the belt over Yuri?
You know what? Honestly, I was. It's not because I don't believe in Poatan. I think he's a tremendous fighter. I think he's the most dangerous striker walking planet Earth right now. One of no doubt. I just thought Jiri was going to utilize more of an MMA based blend the attacks, the up down, snatch up his legs a little bit more, and he never really got going. And Poatan did a great job with the calf kicks, man. It definitely. I had Jury winning. I thought he was going to be too much overall MMA experience, and man, you can't count Poatan out, man. He's a dangerous man.
He's got to be one of the weirdest guys for me in like MMA. Like I've picked against him in all of his last 4 fights. Like I picked Izzy to beat him both times. I picked Jan to beat him. I picked Yuri to beat him. Like, and it's crazy. Like he's like 6-7 fights into his UFC career, and like you'd already say like he's a for sure Hall of Famer when he's 7 fights in, and it's like. Who does like I still don't really know like how good he is or not. And I'm like, this guy's
I get it, man. I'm telling you that the thing about him is he's got crazy power. He does have crazy power, and he's faster than you think. And I think him at 205 is going to be even a more dangerous fighter because he doesn't have to cut that weight. I'm a way better fighter at 205 because I'm more naturally up in weight than I was at 85. I think at 85, he'd probably a little bit slower. And when we fought at 85, he was still blazing fast, I remember. But he's deceptively fast. And that power, man, he can just zing you. And when you get zinged, you're not thinking properly, things happen. You take one more, man, it's over. So I get it, man. But I'm telling you, he's the real deal. It's crazy. I know he's good. But again, I thought Jury had him. I think Jamal Hill has a good chance of matching up with him, but at the same time, man, you just never know.
Obviously, last card of the year, so can kind of enjoy the holidays and the new year and whatnot. So, like, what is kind of that ideal year look like for you next year then?
Yeah, well, I'd like to go in there and get a big win and here, and then I guess we'll just go from there and see, man. I've been calling for Ryan Spann because he's in the top 10. He's number 10. I called for him for this fight. He wasn't available. Didn't want to fight till next year. So, obviously, man, I'd just like to I think if I can get a big statement win here and then one more in the top 10, there's a way to push me up there, push me in against Poatan. And yeah, man, that's the ultimate goal. I think that would be I think that's how it's going to pan out and what I'm looking forward to.
Any golfing for you, or is it done up there?
No, it's not done. Heck, today's almost 80 degrees, man. Beautiful here. Guys are golfing. My coach is golfing today. It's his son's 16th birthday. They're golfing, but we're playing golf Saturday. Golf's really, really slowed down, especially this time of year. It's more hunting season.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming off an elk hunt, a couple different elk hunts with archery and rifle. And then we got into pheasant hunting. It was opening weekend last weekend. I got my dog out there. We had a great opening day, number 7 for him and I and our crew. So, golf kind of slowed down a little bit. I am going to play Saturday, and probably that might be it for this season. You never know, man. Colorado, the cool thing is I've always played a day in like December, January out here. It's always happened. So I got a couple more in me.
Yeah, like for me, it's just like because I'm up like near Toronto, so they're all of course already shut down. Like it's getting already pretty chilly, but this is kind of that worst spot for me because I go golf from like April to October, and then I just wait for the lake to freeze. So I go to ice fish. So there's like November, early December is just like nothing. I don't have anything to do.
Yeah, that does suck, man. Ice fishing. You're into ice fishing, huh?
Yeah, I love it. Me and my buddy go out like every weekend, sometimes after like when he gets back from work. Like
you don't ever worry about that ice breaking?
No, never. I was worried. Like I've been getting into it now like 4 years now. Like the first couple times I was a bit worried, but then you see like people with their trucks out there, and I'm like, yeah, our ATV will be fine out there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, but it gets like 2 feet of ice out there, which you really only need like 8 inches really to go out there.
Cool, right on. Yeah, man, that I'd be nervous doing that, but it does sound fun.
Yeah, it's pretty relaxing. Have a couple drinks out there and just
nice, man.
But
that's cool.
Dustin, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Yeah, thank you, man. We'll get back together after hopefully a big win in December.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight Brian Kelleher, who's back in action at the year-end pay-per-view. Brian, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How's everything?
I'm doing well. Obviously, a long time coming for you with everything you went through. Like the past year and a half, you're like, how kind of difficult has that been for you to just not be able to fight and kind of really not knowing if you were ever going to fight again?
Yeah, it was really tough, honestly, in the beginning, especially because like when they pulled my fight with Journey Newson, I was already there cutting weight, ready to fight, and I didn't really expect it. It came out of nowhere. But in the end, I look at it as a blessing for my health and them looking out for the safety for the company. I understand it. But even then, I went through this surgery realistically only if I was going to continue my career. I wouldn't have done it if I was gonna call it an end, which I wasn't ready to do. But I want to finish my career in the UFC, and I wasn't really sure if they were on board with having me back until honestly after I was done with the surgery. So it was all just like, man, I'm gonna do this and just keep my faith up and see if things work out. And Hunter Campbell was kind of more on the safety side of things, whereas Sean Shelby, he kind of gave me his word, was like, listen, you've stepped up for us. Sorry about this. As long as you get fixed up and the doctors clear you, we'll have you back. And I just held on to that and hoped that that was the case and did everything I could. The surgery went really well. I healed up really fast, 3-4 months, and I was fully cleared. And things panned out. And Hunter, shot me a text and said I was back, and it was the best thing ever for me.
When did you kind of fully realize, was it before the surgery? Was it after? When you fully realized that this thing, I am going to be able to fight again?
So after the 3 months where I was able to see the surgeon and get a good, indication on where things were, he was very pleased, and he knew, I had to get back in the cage. That was my goal. He said I was healing super fast, even at like a 6 week mark. He was like, "You're already starting to fuse," so that was good to hear. And then once I saw him at the 3 month mark, he said, "You're good. Like you're 100% fused. You're fully cleared to." Spar and train for a fight, and I'll speak with the UFC. So, even then I wasn't sure if they were gonna, accept it the way that I thought. I didn't know if they would say, listen, we tried, our medical team will let it go, but it ended up working out, and I feel blessed for an opportunity to kind of have a second chance at my career.
Was that a worry in that first spar back of just you still never really know, or did you have full confidence that it was all good then?
It was a little bit nerve wracking, but I did a good job at training with people I trust, people that I knew kind of knew my situation and were able to go, intense, but not try to compete with me where things got dangerous. So I started out like that, where I was training with just trustworthy guys, a select few guys, high level guys at my gym, my brother. And then I kind of picked up from there. And as I gained confidence, which didn't take too long because I kind of, I rolled over my neck a bunch. I got put in chokes a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. I don't feel any nerve issues. Everything feels good. So once I felt that a little bit, I was like, all right, let's get going. Let's pick it up from here.
And then you get Cody Garbrandt on the year-end pay-per-view. How ecstatic are you with that? Getting that name and then being on this big card as well.
Honestly, man, I look at this as what better opportunity for myself to kind of erase everything that's ever happened, fight a former world champ, big name, get a big win, and kind of start from scratch again, and really propel myself back into, contender talks, top 15 talks, stuff like that. So at my age, I think it's perfect for me. If I beat a guy like this, I can kind of skyrocket my career back to where I wanted to be in the first place. And Cody's a great opponent, and he's a huge name. So I really did not expect this name to come across the table, to be honest with you. So I looked at it as man, it's all or nothing for me, and this is the best case scenario. So I was excited.
And then your fight kind of got that new guy hired by the UFC, the matchmaker or whatever. How kind of cool is that? Where your fight is the guy was his first fight he booked.
Yeah, Sweepstakes Joe, right? Or what? I think
something like that. And Dana White hired him after he said he liked this fight because he thought it was such a good one.
It was kind of crazy, right? Because I heard that rumor, but I had already gotten a text about Cody from Sean Shelby, and I was like, all right, like, yeah, I'm in 100%, but it wasn't like, contract signed. It wasn't official yet. Then I'm laying down at night, I'm watching Dana White's interview, and I'm like, did somebody steal my fight? Like, did this guy come in and give Cody someone else, or like, who is it? Because like he wouldn't say who it was. He just said this guy Joe came into the PI. Cody told him he wants to fight in December. We made a fight. It's official, and we'll let you guys know. And so a couple of days later, I got the official like, yeah, this is you. And I was like, man, that was crazy how I was sitting there like, I guess this guy must have saw Cody at the PI, and Cody kind of told him like, hey, like I want to fight this guy in December. Let's make this fight happen, and the guy made it happen. So it was amazing.
Are you surprised Cody is taking this fight? Like as a former champion, like he can be kind of picky with who he's fighting. Or like I think it does make a lot of sense. Both of you guys are pretty exciting. Both of you like can stand and trade with each other. So like, were you surprised, or are you not really too surprised that he did end up taking it?
No, I'm not surprised where he's at right now. Kind of has to reset himself. I feel, he fought Trevin Jones last, so that's kind of like an up and comer. Um, and I do believe that guys like Cody, they get like options. Like, hey, here's like 2 or 3 guys. You could pick who you want to fight, and we'll go from there. So I think he picked me out of the bunch that he got. I guess he must see something that he likes. But so yeah, I wasn't really surprised at that. But for me, like this is a whole new me. So I'm excited about the challenge.
Where is the training camp back in the usual spot with all the same guys? Or like you bringing anyone different for Cody?
Nobody different, but I will say at Long Island MMA, my head coach Brian Michelino, like he's been running the ship like a boxing camp, like everything focused on me, like what I need, the best guys at the best times. We've been all just kind of the camaraderie at the gym has been at an all-time high. We all have fights lining up to this date, like this next month. So we're all peaking together, and I just feel like that has been amazing for me. Training with these young guys that want to get to where I am, that are hungry as ever, and I'm grinding with them. That's the best I could ask for. So really happy with the camp.
Do you worry about like ring rust or the layoff or anything? Like, because you're a guy like likes to be as active as possible, fighting all the time. Like these long layoffs aren't like common for you. So, like, are you worried about that at all?
Honestly, it hasn't been a thought. I feel like the layoff has helped me because this goes along with the surgery and everything, right? Like the time off from this game being completely taken away from me in my head, not knowing am I ever going to get back to the UFC, has been kind of a positive thing because you get burnt out as a veteran in the sport, been in this game for so long. Like you get burnt out, you kind of get used to things, you get complacent with the training, with the fighting, with the whole thing. For me, this feels like my debut again, where it's like a new, fresh thing, where the excitement level is at an all-time high. My genuine desire to perform and get in that fight is at an all-time high. The opponent that I have, the name that I have, is at an all-time high. Like everything for me has been like washed away and then resurfaced, and now it feels like a resurrection of myself. So I'm happy about it.
With Cody, like what have you kind of made of his last couple fights? Like obviously he's had a lot of those ups and downs. Like the chin is obviously a big turn. I know he looked pretty good against Trevin. Like I didn't really love the flyweight move to begin with for him when he went down to Kai, but like Trevin, I thought he looked decent enough. Like he didn't get hit as much, but like what have you kind of made of his run?
Obviously he had a huge, performance with Dominic Cruz, and then from there on out, it kind of fell a little bit with Dillashaw, and then from there it got worse and worse. But I think he's a guy that is well off with money. He made a good amount of money. He has businesses, and he has a kid, and he has a big life outside the cage. And I think sometimes that can get a hold of you. But as far as the last performance with Trevin, you see differences in his style. I don't know if that's his coaching. He changed gyms. He doesn't train at Alpha Male. He trains in Vegas at Extreme Couture. Different coaching, different theories, I think can kind of change you as a fighter. Which, with Trevin Jones, I feel like there wasn't a lot of activity. There wasn't a lot of respect gained from Trevin at all, like in that fight, which is the difference maker to me between that fight and Kai France, Rob Font, Pedro Munoz, guys that were in his face, that were willing to exchange, that were kind of putting it on him. those fights look different to me than that Trevin Jones fight. I mean, he kind of let him get into a groove. He was moving well. He tends to move a lot more in his fights. He's kicking a little bit more and trying to kind of be evasive. So I think that's a little bit of a change in his game. But, Cody's always going to be the old Cody. If you hit him good, he's going to get emotional and try to swing at you hard. So I'm expecting, a fast, good boxer, good footwork, the best Cody that there is.
That is something I want to touch on, because when he was supposed to fight Mario Bautista, I talked to him and he thought, because Cody was saying after the Trevin fight, like he's kind of fixed a lot that mentally and he doesn't get as wild, but Mario kind of thought if you get him once, like he'll go back. It's just because that's the way he's fought for so long. So he kind of agree with that. Like, just it's too hard to kind of change who he is as a fighter, like after one fight. And like if you do get him in that firefight, like he'll engage in it as well.
Yeah, I just think, it's one of those things. Like, you can have a game plan, but when you get in there and you're in the firefight, like, it's kind of hard to think, and be that thoughtful game plan type of guy. Like, you're in there trying to win, you're getting hit, you're trying to hit back. Like, it's kill or be killed, and it's who he is and his DNA. I feel like he's an emotional guy. He's got that fire in him where, like, if things are going, crazy in the fight, he gets crazier. So I expect that Cody for sure.
And then how much of the game plan is just not let Cody get the groove, what like Trevin did, and like get him like going where, because I think if Cody is his best is when like he can kind of be the one dictating the pace and dictating like when he goes in for those shots and whatnot.
Yeah, for me, like I never been like a huge game plan guy where it's like so detailed. I have to do this. I just feel like in this day and age, the game has evolved. Everyone's good at everything essentially, so it's really just execute. It's go in, be my best self, which I believe in that person, and execute. And be aggressive and show no respect and put my hands on this guy and try to put him away. I've always been a guy that looks for the finish, and there's not going to be no change in that in this fight.
Do you think this one mostly plays out on the feet, or do you think you guys will grapple at some point?
I think this fight might be everywhere, honestly. That's another thing I've noticed in his fights as of late is like he's been wrestling a little bit more. He seems to have a tendency of like to shoot when things get a little bit heated, which I think might be a change that he's made where like trying to avoid that firefight. Like let's wrestle. He has wrestling. I know he wrestled coming up. I don't know. He kind of didn't use it too much in his UFC career. He does have boxing as well. But I do think that sometimes the path of least resistance is to shoot a takedown, kind of get top control and cover some time. I think if I get a hold of him and touch him on the chin a couple times, like he will look to shoot and take me down. But I'm prepared for that all. There's different ways for me to finish. I have a lot of tools to finish fights.
How do you kind of see it playing out though? Like Cody, most of his fights like end by knockout. Either he's getting the knockout or he's getting knocked out. Like, is that kind of how you see this one playing out?
Yeah. I see a finish for myself. I see myself touching him on the chin and kind of wobbling him like we've seen in the past, and getting that respect, and then kind of just pouncing on him. Maybe he shoots into a takedown, and I, latch onto a choke or whatnot from there. But I'm always going to be looking for a finish, and this fight means everything to me for my whole career. So I'm going to leave it all in there for sure.
Do you think you could be fighting for your job then? Like just on a 2-fight losing streak, like coming off that layoff, or do you think like after everything you've been through, like they'd give you one more?
Well, honestly, I don't like to think about it too much, but it is the truth. You can't avoid that. And like, yeah, I feel like my life is on the line. Honestly, like that's how I'm feeling about this with everything. I mean, you know, financially setting myself up, getting a new contract, staying with the UFC. I feel I have, 3, 4, 5 more years left in me, to be honest with you. I know I'm older for the bantamweights, but like health wise, like my body holding up, damage over the years. Like I've been fortunate. I haven't really taken a lot of damage, and I feel healthy. So I still feel like I have a lot to give, but it's up to me to beat this guy in order to give myself that platform.
You are the betting underdog. Like, does that surprise you, or do you think that's more because Cody obviously has the bigger name and whatnot?
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, he is coming off a win, and I'm coming off 2 losses technically, and with the surgery and all that. obviously, they look into stuff like that. So I expect to be the underdog, especially with his big name, but none of that means anything ever, honestly. I mean, in this fight game, like we see crazy shit happen and like, a lot of underdogs come out victorious. So
Oh, what do you think a win over Cody does for you, especially a finish? Like, fair to say, probably the biggest win in your career, but like, he's a guy, like, even though he's still a popular guy, like, he's still near that top 15. So, like, what do you think a win here does for you?
honestly, I think this is like a huge opportunity for me to not just like get a win and get back, but like propel myself into a better position than I've been in a long time. Like this is a guy that's well respected by the company, by other fighters. He has been at the top. He's held the belt. He's a former world champ. So like beating that guy, putting that on your resume is a big thing. And I've always been smart with the way that I move after I get wins like this, and I have plans for that, but I don't like to focus on them too much. But I think I have something big in my back pocket for what's next after a good victory here.
Just final thing, like, what is kind of that goal then for you next year? Like, I know you like to be as active as possible. There's some big cards coming up next year, like historic cards. Like, what does that ideal year look like for you then?
Activities definitely a huge thing. I do like to stay active. I hate the idea of like waiting 5 months to fight again. Like I'm always in the gym, so it's like why not put this to use, make more paychecks more frequently, like get me in there, especially if I'm healthy. If I don't take any injuries or anything like that, like I'm back in the gym. I'd love to fight on UFC 300. That would be something that I'm looking at. I believe that would be what January, like
It's like
March.
early April, I think they're planning it.
April. Okay, so that's a little bit far. Like maybe 299 in Miami. That's a little bit earlier, right? I wouldn't mind that. Miami, would be a cool place to fight. I think that card's going to be sick too. So one of those would be definitely what I'm looking at.
Well, Brian, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.